All right, welcome to Database Development Design. This is Burton Valley Community College course. I'm Dr. Larson. This is again our SQL lesson for week 5. Today we're going to study aggregates, okay? Aggregates are, one of the main purposes of a database. When you're looking at data, you don't want to just read the data. You want to do some analysis on it. So you look at things like how can you tell which store is performing better? You look at the total average sales numbers. Total or average sales numbers. We look at which schools are performing better. We look at average test scores, which athlete is fastest runner. We look at things like max speed. And we can do this using functions found in SQL. Here's a short list of functions available in SQL. Obviously, there are many more, but this is a good one to start with. And these should make a lot of sense to you. So you got your min, which is your minimum value in the column. Max returns the maximum value in the comma. Average returns the average or mean of the column. Average is kind of one of those fuzzy words. If you're talking to a normal, average means mean for the average person. Almost most people out there talking. Start talking to a statistician or a mathematician, they'll get a little fuzzy with you. But for our purposes, mean and average are the same thing. If you don't know what that means, what we're doing is you take a list of 10 numbers, you add them together, and you divide by 10. That'll tell you what the average number of that list is. If we have sum, which will add up all the columns, and count, which counts the number of records. Okay. So aggregates live in the same space you would find your columns. So you could have select statement from column 1, column 2 from table 1. That would be select min from column 1, select max from column 2 from table 1. And they just live up there and they'll return a value. Okay. So count is used to return the number of records. So we syntax as follows. We say select count from tables. We have our customer order table here, and we did a count from it, and it returns 100. That's how many columns are there. But notice you have no column name. All right, and I'm not sure if our customer orders, if that's the actual right value. Let me just go ahead and close this out. No, I don't want to save it and give myself a new screen here. I just want to test something out here, sorry. Make sure we're on the right track. And if I said select count from cust orders, and yep, 106 is the real number. I guess that was from a different, but you notice I have no column name. So you almost want to have to do normally is, alias it, I'd maybe say row count. And remember, if I have a space, I got to put my little brackets around there to make it work. And now it says row count. All right, back to our deck. And all right, so that's count. And that's just count star. You can do a count. Let me find an example here. Sorry, I'm going to cause trouble. Let me pause for a second here while I get this. So just for fun, I'm going to go into the billing and I'm going to show you a quick way you can actually add data. I'm going to say, watch this. I'm going to go to billing. I'm going to right click, edit the top 200 rows. This will come up. We don't have 200 rows, so it shouldn't be that much. All right, so I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to make up a new column just for fun. I'm going to call this 135 invoice. Oh, no, I'm just giving a number. Oh, it's going to be a date time. Sorry, couldn't see. All right, so yeah, I see. Say 2022, 10, 10. 2022 is a good year. It was a while ago. And then we'll say amount. We'll just, make it. I'm going to make this amount null, and I'm going to make my student will be 643. But I'm going to make the overdue and the amount null. Okay, just to show you a point. Ignore these stupid arrows. It's just Microsoft being Microsoft. And unlike, you would think, hey, it'd be a save button. No, actually, you just click the X button, and now it's loaded in there. So you actually go back now and said, select star from billing. You'll now see we have some nulls down here. It's new value. But watch this. So if I do select count from billing, I get 6. Okay. But if I were to say, go back and look at billing again. So we got billing here. Notice my amount, one of them was empty. So if I sit there and say, select count amount, I had a null value here. We had 6. Watch this now. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's called I'm not paying attention. Count amount, sorry. So in the brackets, you can put an actual, instead of a star, you can put a column. And now watch, I only get 5. And I had, because it doesn't count null values. If I count everything, it'll count the number of rows, but if I'm counting by a column, it'll only count the number of values in that, only number of rows that have a value in that column. So if there's a null, it will not count that row. Okay, so that's count, simple enough. And now we have another example, no column names. Again, no column name, you probably want to put a alias in there. Distinct. Now, distinct is not really an aggregate, but I just kind of didn't know where else to stick this, so I put it here. Distinct returns the number of unique elements in a field. Actually, not even the number, it returns the unique elements. So in this example here, I've got from our cust orders, how many departments are there below? You see tools, clothing, furniture, all this stuff. I can run this command, select distinct department from cust orders, and it'll return. There they are. There's my 5 departments. It will not, that's a great thing to use to check for things like that. So distinct, and you actually don't need the brackets. You can use them or not. It works either way. I think if you want to do a distinct across multiple columns, then you need the brackets. But if you're doing a distinct across one column, that's all that works. Another example we have is min and max, where we can select the minimum price as min, select the maximum price as max, and from cust orders. You'll notice we're using the same column here, but it just brings us 2 values back, and it just treats them as unique columns. Average and sum, same thing, price, average, price, sum, so you get the average, the sum of all the prices put together. And now we have group by. So what happens if we want to count only the orders in tools department? Okay, thus far, everything we've had has been an aggregate. Notice we've had all aggregates in our select statement. So what's the max price for all credit card orders in the tools department? These kind of questions we want to ask, so we can use group by. So the rule for group by is anything that is not an aggregate in the select statement needs to go in a group by. So here I've got an example where I say select department, and I say count star from cust orders group by department. So this will return to me the amount of records based on each department. So I get back my distinct departments here, clothing, right there, and then this is, so there's 13 records in clothing, 28 in furniture, 25 in toys. That's how that works. And it's grouped by. So this department is not part of the aggregate. This is the aggregate. It has the parentheses, okay? Sum, max, all those are aggregates. Anything not in the aggregate needs to go in the group by clause, okay? Another example here, you can even put a where clause in there in the middle, and the where clause will go between the group clause and the from. Again, order is very important when it comes to SQL, so after from, but between, so where becomes between from and the group by. If you had a join, the join would be there, then you have the where after that. But in this case, I'm saying select department, count from customers where department like T, and group by department. So it comes back only my departments that have T in the front. Okay. Hold on. All right. You can use more than one field in your group by. In this example, I'm selecting department and payment, where the max, looking for the max price. And what I get here is group by department and payment. So you see I got departments here, then payment. You notice it goes in that order. It goes department to all the departments that are cash, then it goes all the departments that are payment. And so then I finally get the max price in each one of those departments. So this says the max cash payment in clothing was $1,255, but the max check payment in clothing was $977. And again, put them by that order, and the group by is in the order that you group them by. Okay. Now having. So this is the one that kind of confused a little people. This is kind of like a where clause, but it's a where clause for aggregates. So it's a special clause. If I want to know which departments have more than 20 orders, okay, how would I go about doing that? So I go by having. So I do my select department and I count. So this is the standard thing we had, the group by. So we'd have a list of departments just like up here. I would have my list of departments and their count. This is what my results would be, clothing, all those, and their count. Notice only 2 of them, furniture and tools, are above 20 here. So with having, I would sit there, I'd say having count greater than 20. Notice you have to still put the aggregate down here. Even if I had aliased this, so watch this. Even if I had gone here, going back into SQL Server, back here so you can see what I'm doing. So even if I said here, if I went select star cust orders, just so I know, I'm sorry, I'm having a. So I sat there and I said select department, comma count, Then group by department. Number one, if you don't group by, here's what happens. If you don't group by, you get this message. It's invalid list because it's not contained in the aggregate function. Here, let me slide over so you can read the whole thing. Not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause. So you have to have it in the group by. So when I go back here and I run the whole thing with the group by and execute, I get that list. Now, if I wanted to have, now let's say I went up here and I said as row count. Or I'll just say as rows, just make life easier. Rows count. There we go. Just make it easier. And I do that and I execute and I get this down here, rows count. If I try this, if I try having rows count greater than 20, it's going to fail. And it's going to fail for the main reason that this has no idea what rows count is. The select statement is the last thing generally run in the SQL statement because the first thing it looks at is the table, then it wants to remove stuff, so it wants to filter down first. So really when you're down here doing this, you still have to say it's still count is what it's looking at because it has no idea about this aliasing because it's not going to run that until after it does all the other running first. So there we go. Now we've aliased it. Now in this example here, I've got 3. I guess the date is a little different than I had in my slide deck. All right, so that's that. Let's go back to the deck. So that's our having function, the main idea behind it. If you want, you can filter by column values as well as your having. So I can have a, where department is not furniture and having count. So you can have as much down here as you want. But remember the order of from, where, group by, having. It has to go in that order. Remember your joins would become above where when you put that in there. All right, so that's it for the aggregates. I'll see you back for the lab in a little bit. Thanks a lot.